Hi, everyone. So we're doing something a little bit different to help you with this next module coming up, module 3 in your small groups. Your small group meetings will still happen according to your schedule, so make sure you have something planned. If you need help, reach out to Amanda, who's here today. But the format for this meeting is going to look a little different. So you will be able to access, by the way, the agenda for this meeting on Coalition Manager. You want to look for the Module 3 Small Group Guide. The agenda is all laid out there. You'll start the meeting with just a little bit of wrapping up some of the other things that you learned, but then we're going to go into this role play experience. Role plays, I'll say for myself, I don't love them when I'm doing them, but I always get so much out of the experience. And I think no matter where you are in your career and how much experience you have as an advocate, you can always take something away from playing the part of an advocate and practicing your skills, from playing the part of a victim and thinking more about the experience of what it's like to be a victim or survivor, and also from being an observer of that whole experience and watching other people at work and noticing things that they do or say that are especially effective. So you're going to get to try this out. The way that this will work is that you are going to get an email from Amanda that's going to give you a scenario that you will have when it's your turn to play the part of the victim. Everyone is going to be a victim or survivor once. Everyone is going to be an advocate once. You'll be playing an advocate within your role. As we said in this, there's a special tip sheet that we're going to send you to. There may be some things that the victim is looking for that are not quite within what your agency normally does or provides. That's okay. The job here, different from real life, is again really just to listen, to understand the victim's story, victim survivor story, and to build some rapport with them. So you'll get that scenario when it's your turn to play the victim survivor in advance. You're going to want to read it over probably in advance. That would be helpful. You can print it out. In fact, I recommend printing it out because it's okay for you to refer to it when it's your turn. Maybe the advocate has a question for you and you know there's an answer, but you don't remember what it is. And so you can go look it up and check. So you'll have the scenarios. We're also going to send you, and for your group, sort of a schedule. So and we're going to play this out today, by the way, so you can see it play out. But it will say like Amanda is going to play the victim survivor for Kelly, who's going to be the advocate, and Amanda's going to be using scenario C. We have 5 different scenarios. They're labeled with letters. That way there's some variety. Another thing too that I want to point out is you should only read the role that you've been assigned. The job of the advocate, although some of these scenarios will be repeated, but the job of the advocate is to ask the open-ended questions that they need to ask to get the information. In real life, you don't get to read the scenario sheet before someone calls you so that you know all the facts in advance, right? So just so you know that too, you're going to keep your scenario sheet to yourself. But some of the scenarios will be repeated because there's just too many of you to create unique scenarios for everyone. So with all of that, and I wonder if I'm missing anything, folks, we can jump into showing you how the role play part of your meeting is going to work. So we'll imagine for now that I'm just an observing person for this next scenario that's coming up. And Amanda is going to be the timekeeper, and Kelly is going to be the advocate, and Casey is going to be the survivor. So Amanda will let everyone know when it's time to start.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, your name's Kelly, right?
Yep, that's correct. What was your name?
Oh, my name's Casey. And I just really appreciate you talking with me today. I don't even really know if like I should be talking to you, but something happened and it was kind of scary, and I don't really want to talk about it, but my friend said that I really should. So
Well, Casey, I'm really glad that you reached out, and I can understand and hear of it. You're pretty nervous to be connecting with me right now. And I just wanted to let you know that, I'm here to listen to what you have to share, and you get to drive this conversation. So you can share as little or as much as you want, and you can end this conversation whenever you want. And, the floor is really yours. Do you want to share a little bit more about sort of the scary thing that happened that your friend really encouraged you to connect with us about?
yeah, so I I was doing a lot of bad stuff when this happened. So I was at a bar with like a bunch of people, and it's a bar that I go to a lot and go with these people a lot. And I was hanging out with my group of friends, and we were drinking a lot. And then I don't know, it was like we were having a really good time. My boyfriend doesn't really like it when I don't know, it's like he wants me to drink because he wants me to drink with him, but he doesn't like it when I drink a lot, and especially when I start talking to other guys and just at a bar having conversations. So we left the bar, and then we're in this like parking lot, and it was my boyfriend, and there were a couple of other friends there. And I don't know what happened, but I like blacked out. And the next thing I knew, I kind of woke up or came to, and I was on the ground, and everyone said that my boyfriend had pushed me to the ground, and they called the cops. And I don't really remember, like it's hard because I don't really remember. And then I called somebody because I was pretty upset and I just wanted to talk to somebody about it. And they said I should just leave him. And I was like, I don't know. It just kind of, I think it's probably my fault that I shouldn't have been drinking, and I don't even really know what happened. So I don't want to say that he did something that he didn't do, but I'm just really confused.
I'm so glad that you reached out, Casey. It sounds like the experience you had recently was very confusing and also very frightening. And that I'm hearing a lot of self-doubt and uncertainty. And even if you don't have a clear memory of everything that happened, your feelings about like what you do remember or what you were feeling are completely valid. And it does sound like it was a really scary, sort of confusing experience. And I also just want to say that, just because you were drinking doesn't negate what happened to you. Whatever that may have been, and what you can remember, what people told you. I don't think that what happened to you is your fault. Drinking doesn't mean that you get to be treated poorly or be scared by anyone, let alone somebody who you're in a relationship with. And it sounds like, there were a lot of systems that got involved. I hear that the law enforcement was called, and that probably was, pretty upsetting and confusing too.
Yeah, it was really embarrassing. And then I lost my keys, and like, I don't want to think that he did push me, and I don't remember if he did, but he's like done stuff like this before. And I don't know, I feel like he's saying he didn't do it, and I don't remember, but he's done things like this before. And then if I try to bring up that he's done things like this before, he says he doesn't remember, and because he definitely blacks out when he drinks a lot. And so it's hard to know what's true.
Do you care sharing a little bit about what your relationship is like when your boyfriend isn't drinking? What's his name, by the way?
We have a minute left.
George.
Okay. Do you care sharing with me a little bit about your relationship with George when he isn't drinking? What that looks like?
It's pretty good. I mean, like, it's like I'm with two different people, like it's pretty good. And we get along. He really likes to be with his friends. He likes to be with me when it's convenient for him. But we don't really we don't fight. We get along pretty good. We have similar interests. I wish he wouldn't drink, and I should probably stop too. He's definitely never gonna stop drinking. I don't know, but it's not bad when stuff like this isn't happening.
Yeah. No, I
That's
hear.
5 minutes.
So, and you can see there, as the timekeeper, Casey just stopped them where they were at 5 minutes. You can tell that this conversation could have gone on for a long time. And as you know, from your day-to-day, these conversations take longer than 5 minutes. We're just giving this enough time to get started. And so what would happen next in your group is you keep running through all of the rest of the group members getting their turn to be the advocate. Keep in mind too, that the scenarios are designed for different types of roles. So you saw a community-based domestic violence advocate here. There are other roles that are set up for VWAs. There's lawyer scenarios. There's a DOC scenario. So again, it'll be a little more tailored to what you do. And the various characters will have different emotions. They'll be asking for different things. So part of your work too is to understand why they're there, right? So then once everyone has had their turn, you're going to move to having a broader conversation about how this experience went. And you'll see in the small group guide that we have 3 big questions for you to go around and take turns on. So what did the other small group members do well? What did you learn from this experience about trauma and how to support victim survivors? And I think this is a great place for those of you, everyone will play the victim. This is a great place to share what that experience was like for you when it was your turn, and what you saw in the person who was playing the advocate that you were interacting with. And then the last question is, what opportunities for improvement or learning did you observe, right? So that might be opportunities that you saw in yourself, which is a really humble experience, but again, you're in good company, right? So let's practice playing out what that conversation could look like. And in this case, we'll just be focused on Kelly and Casey's scenario.
Great. What was that first question again?
What did the other small group members do well?
Well, how did that go, folks? How did I do?
Yeah.
How did that feel for you, Casey?
It felt so supportive. And one of the things that I always look for, just as myself as a human, in talking with somebody, is their tone. And I just really appreciated your tone. You didn't act really nervous, like you may have been nervous, but I didn't know that. You didn't act like it was a crisis. You didn't act really scared or have any of those really heightened emotions that sometimes we feel inside as advocates. but you didn't show any of those, and you were just really calm and grounding, and that helped me to be calm and grounding. And it also, like, in the role I was playing, it helped me want to share with you. One of the things that is sometimes difficult for me in role plays, but I like that it's difficult because it helps me remember, is that when I play the role of the victim survivor, it's like such a vulnerable place. And regardless of where I'm drawing the scenario from, and just so that folks know, this was just a made up kind of hodgepodge scenario. I've been an advocate for a long time, and I also have my own real life experiences. So it was a hodgepodge of things. So, but even though it's not like totally my experience or totally someone else's experience, it's still really vulnerable to be in that space and be talking and sharing. And then I get those feelings of, oh, should I share that or should I not? And so it's sometimes weird to have those feelings, but I always appreciate having them, because it's so important that we have that empathy and that compassion for how victim survivors are feeling when they're talking to us as advocates. And they're probably feeling all of those emotions, only probably on a much deeper level, because it is their experience, it is their truth, and it takes so much just trust, or the attempt at trust, and a lot of like faith, and then to share that. So Kelly, you set up a situation where I felt like I was really able to do all that.
Wow.
It's interesting when you started the conversation and you're really uncertain about, like, should you be calling, and your friend encouraged you to call. I felt this sense of like, I genuinely felt like happy that you were calling, or that you were connecting with me. And it felt very easy to think about, I mean, my experience doing direct service advocacy, and of course, all of the participants in the NVAA will be able to draw upon their own experiences. But I felt this genuine, like, I'm heartbroken that you're calling, and I'm also so glad that you did. And I just want to learn a little bit more about sort of what's going on in this person's life, and be that sounding board, be that space for you to have a conversation that you get to dictate and control.
Yeah, I
Kelly-
didn't.
Sorry,
Oh,
go ahead, Casey.
It's okay. That's all right. That's going to happen in Zoom, right? We're
Yeah.
going to talk over each other. I just wanted to say that, I know another thing is, like, I didn't feel like I was in the wrong place. I didn't feel rushed. I didn't feel like that my advocate was in their head doing their grocery list. I didn't feel like you were doing something else. I mean, this is over Zoom, and sometimes interactions with victim survivors are over Zoom, particularly now. And so, but you, even over Zoom, you can still sometimes tell it's like someone's checking their email, or they're off doing something else, or we can make assumptions and think we know. But I didn't for once have that feeling. So I just wanted to point that out as well. So.
How was that experience for you, Kara, observing?
Well, it was an eye-opening experience for me in a way, right? Because I've worked in prosecution-based services for my career, right? So it's, to me, I was noticing some of the differences in how those first interactions might go, I'll say. Right? Because for prosecution-based folks, often the person is making a phone call and they have a very particular system-based need that's sort of starting things off, right? So, but with that said, I think when an advocate in a prosecution setting makes that first phone call, I could see the conversation going a lot like this type of conversation. You tell me what's going on for you. Some open-ended question. And then Kelly, there was a piece that was very universal, right? So when Casey sort of finished her initial explanation, you went back through, and I thought you did a really great job of identifying, both some feelings that you heard or sort of intuited from Casey, but also just a practical sort of summary of like where Casey's at right now, and validated that where Casey is exactly where she needs to be. I think that's an advocacy piece here that is universal, that no matter what role you're in, going back through after someone kind of gives their first round of the story and identifying how they feel and normalizing how they feel is so helpful for building connection and also helping to address the inherent trauma that comes with going back through and telling the story again. So yeah, I thought it was great.
I think one of the things I was reflecting on was the balance of, it's in the first 5 minutes of this conversation, right? This could have been, we could have talked for a couple of hours, depending on sort of like, and from a community-based perspective. I know there are limitations in other settings, but on time. But, I was thinking about when I asked Casey about her boyfriend's name and the intention behind that. And for folks that are, listening and observing, my purpose behind that, like, wasn't necessarily, it wasn't based in information gathering. It was based in sort of common ground building so that I can refer later, like as I'm talking to Casey, like, tell me a little more about George. Like, let's hear about this. Like, just so that like, we don't keep referring to like Casey's, like the person who has caused some harm is like her boyfriend. Like there was some humanizing there that I was trying to do. There's that added benefit that there is, of course, some information gathering happening at the same time. But I just was thinking about that one particular piece. Like, how do you broach it? Of like, can you tell me a little bit more about this person? And like, what's their name again? Like, and of course, different settings allow for different levels of anonymity. I don't need to know George's last name, right? As a DV advocate.
I love that point too, right? Like we can build connection and rapport through just the smallest of like noticing and then continuing to notice and remember that and that doesn't require sort of breaking boundaries, right? So that's I think I love that point. That's a really good example. So hopefully this has given everyone a sense of how this module 3 small group discussion can go. Like I said, there's some specific questions that'll help you process all of the other content this month. You'll turn to the role play process. We've mapped it out for you so that you know who's going when and what each person is doing at that point. And then at the very end, you can wrap up with this conversation and talk about how the experience was for you. If you have any questions, as always, Amanda has left for an appointment, but she is your small group coordinator. Reach out to Amanda, reach out to any of us. We'll figure out how to get you what you need. And we are looking forward to hearing from you about how this went. So take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.